Have you ever wondered why the Western Roman Empire, once a beacon of civilization, fell into disarray and ultimately vanished? The dissolution of this mighty empire is a complex historical enigma that continues to baffle scholars and history enthusiasts alike. It's akin to a colossal jigsaw puzzle with numerous pieces scattered across the canvas of time, each piece hinting at a possible reason for Rome's decline. This historical conundrum is steeped in a myriad of events that unfolded during the migration period. This era, marked by the movement of peoples across Europe, plays a pivotal role in our understanding of Rome's fall. But did these migrations cause the empire's disintegration? Or were they merely a consequence of it? The answers to these questions are still shrouded in mystery and continue to be a subject of passionate debate in scholarly circles. One thing, however, remains undisputed. By the late 4th and 5th centuries, the once invincible Rome was no longer capable of defending its borders as effectively as it had in its heyday. The establishment of Germanic kingdoms, or regna, on Western Roman soil during the 5th and 6th centuries is a phenomenon that defies simple explanations. It challenges long-held assumptions that Germanic tribes violently invaded the empire to establish their own realms, a notion that is now largely dismissed by experts. So, what really happened? Was the Western Roman Empire brutally murdered by these Germanic peoples, as some historians argue? Or did it slowly crumble from within, succumbing to its own internal weaknesses? Could it have been a combination of both? Or perhaps there were other, less obvious factors at play? As we delve into the depths of this mystery, we'll explore various theories, sift through historical evidence, and attempt to piece together the intricate puzzle that is the fall of Western Rome. Will we find definitive answers? Perhaps not. But one thing's for sure, our journey will take us through some of the most fascinating chapters of human history. By the late 4th and 5th centuries, it was apparent that Rome could no longer defend its borders as effectively as it once did. And so the stage was set for the fall of a once mighty civilization. But what were the forces that pushed it over the edge? Stay tuned as we continue to unravel the mystery of Western Rome's fall. Historical interpretations of the fall of Western Rome have evolved over time. As we delve deeper into the past, we find ourselves confronting a narrative that was once widely accepted. It was a narrative that painted the Germanic peoples as the ruthless murderers of the Roman civilization. This view, championed by French historian André Pigagnol in his post-World War II work, L'Empire Chrétien, held sway for many years. In this narrative, the Germanic tribes were portrayed as violent, destructive forces that swept across the Western Roman Empire, laying waste to a civilization in their path. This perspective was heavily influenced by national conflicts of the time. Historians from Romance and Anglo-Saxon countries, grappling with the realities of their own conflict with the modern German nation-state, often saw the Germanic peoples as direct successors to the ancient Germanic tribes. This perspective inevitably colored their interpretation of history. On the flip side, during the era of National Socialism, German nationalist historians adopted a different stance. They claimed that the late antiquity Roman Empire had succumbed to decadence and had been overrun and succeeded by vital, powerful individuals from Northern Europe. So, depending on where you stood, the Germanic tribes were either the murderers of Rome or its saviors. But history, as we all know, is seldom black and white. It is a rich tapestry woven from countless threads of events, personalities, and circumstances. And as our understanding of the past has evolved, so too has our interpretation of the fall of Western Rome. Recent scholarship has begun to challenge these once prevailing views. The notion of Germanic tribes as the murderers of Rome has come under scrutiny. Contemporary research suggests that the scenario was far more complex than previously thought. It wasn't a simple case of murder, but rather a series of events and processes that led to the transformation of the Western Roman Empire. In this light, the Germanic tribes are no longer seen as the villains of the piece, but as key players in a much larger, more intricate historical drama. However, this view of Germanic tribes as the murderers of Rome no longer holds water in light of contemporary research. Modern scholarship paints a different picture of the fall of Western Rome. The era of late antiquity, including the migration period, was not simply marked by violent invasions and the collapse of a once mighty empire. It was a time of transformation, a period of change that saw the melding of cultures, the evolution of societies, and the emergence of new powers. This transformative process was not all about peaceful integration or the romanticized notion of noble savages assimilating into the Roman way of life. It was a complex and often violent process. The decline in Rome's material wealth was significant, as was the violence that often accompanied these changes. These aspects, often glossed over in the past, are now being brought back into the spotlight by contemporary research. The Germanic tribes that moved into Roman territories were not just marauding invaders. They were, in many cases, warrior communities, groups of people bound together not just by shared culture and language, but also by a shared purpose. These communities, such as the Goths in the late 5th century, were not homogeneous groups, but rather they were diverse in composition. They were often made up of families and individuals from different backgrounds, united by their shared goals. These warrior communities were not simply looking to plunder and destroy. Their primary aim was to seek land, wealth, and recognition. They wanted to participate in the prosperity of the Roman world, which, despite its decline, still held a certain allure. They sought a place within the Roman structure, a chance to partake in the wealth and prestige that Rome had to offer. So, when we look at the fall of Western Rome, we should not see it as a simple story of conquest and destruction. It was a transformative process, a period of change and evolution that saw the old order give way to the new. These warrior communities were not simply invaders, but sought to participate in the prosperity of the Roman world. But were the Huns the catalyst for the fall of Western Rome? The Huns, a nomadic people who emerged from the steppes of Central Asia, have been the subject of much scholarly debate. Some historians propose that the Huns were the primary instigators of the Western Roman Empire's downfall. This theory suggests that the Huns' appearance in the 4th century forced many peoples to uproot from their homelands and migrate into Roman territory. The Western Roman Empire, already strained and weakened, was unable to withstand this added pressure. The Huns' onslaught was fierce and unrelenting, driving tribes like the Visigoths and Ostrogoths before them and into the empire's borders. Their brutal warfare and formidable reputation created a sense of fear and uncertainty, further destabilizing the region. The Western Roman Empire, struggling with internal strife and external threats, found itself pushed to a breaking point. Yet, as we cast our gaze eastward, we find a different narrative. The Eastern Roman Empire, initially the target of Hunnic and Gothic attacks, managed to survive the migration period. How did they achieve this, you might ask? The answer lies in their fortifications. The Eastern Empire boasted formidable defenses, such as the impregnable walls of Constantinople. These fortifications served as a bulwark against the invaders, protecting the wealthy provinces of Asia and the Orient. The Eastern Empire's survival contrasts sharply with the fate of its Western counterpart. It weathered the storm, adapted, and eventually transformed into the Byzantine Empire, which would continue to flourish for another 1,000 years. The Western Empire, on the other hand, was unable to adapt to the changing circumstances and succumbed to the pressure of migration and invasion. But let's not forget, history is rarely a straightforward tale of cause and effect. The Huns' role in the fall of Western Rome is not a universally accepted view. Some scholars dispute this interpretation, arguing that the empire's downfall was a far more complex process involving a variety of factors. However, this interpretation of the Huns' role is not universally accepted. Could internal strife have been a significant factor in the fall of Western Rome? That's a question that has baffled historians for centuries. But the more we delve into the pages of history, the more we realize that the answer might be a resounding yes. The Roman Empire was not just a victim of external invasions, it was also a theater of intense internal struggles. Civil wars and political infighting left the empire vulnerable and weakened, often distracting the Romans from the looming threats on their borders. The empire was stretched thin, its resources depleted, and its leadership often caught in a web of power struggles and political maneuvering. In the midst of this turmoil, Germanic warrior groups were on the move. They weren't just invaders seeking to conquer. These groups, diverse and often accompanied by their families, were in search of land, wealth, and recognition. They saw Rome not as a target for destruction, but as a beacon of prosperity they wished to partake in. But these movements weren't always peaceful. Sometimes these groups clashed with the Roman forces or with each other, leading to bouts of violence and instability. These conflicts further strained the already beleaguered empire, chipping away at its strength and resilience. The empire's internal struggles and the movements of these Germanic warrior groups formed a deadly combination. On one hand, the empire was grappling with its own demons, its focus divided and its strength waning. On the other hand, these groups, driven by their aspirations, were pushing against the empire's borders, adding to its woes. So while the empire was fighting its battles within, it was also facing pressure from without. This dual threat, many historians believe, played a crucial role in the empire's downfall. It wasn't just a story of a mighty empire falling to invading barbarians, it was also a tale of an empire crumbling under its own weight, its own internal strife. So the fall of Western Rome was a complex process, influenced by both external and internal factors. The fall of Western Rome was not a simple event, but a transformative process. It involved a myriad of factors. From the emergence of Germanic kingdoms, the paradigm shifts in historical interpretations, to the significant role of the migrating warrior communities. The Huns too played their part in setting the gears of change in motion, and we cannot overlook the internal struggles that further weakened the empire. Indeed, the fall of Western Rome is a fascinating historical puzzle that continues to captivate scholars and history enthusiasts alike.